Yeah, it very much is as we're going to grid now to start this second race of the championship. So we'll see what exactly these guys can do here.
Yeah. Already everyone's on the grid. On board with Baldi and away from the grid they go. Looking back now, that's Stanger in third spot. So they swapped with Durnedin. Swapped with Durnedin the positions, and Kunze is on the inside now, heading towards that first corner. Will Kunze make a move here? No love lost between Kunze and the two Go Sport drivers in those Chevrolets.
Yeah, it looks like Kunze is not wasting any time to get around this Go Sport in second position, but very nicely held there by Stanger to hold that second position. Now he just needs to not allow Baldi to get away from him like they did with Monroe in that first race. But meanwhile, he's going to have to deal with Kunze constantly hounding him for that second spot.
Yeah, Stanger now holding off Kunze into that. So a lot more routine this opening lap than the first lap was last time around, as Banky is involved in this fight also as well. He's in 7th spot. Monroe trying to challenge him as they all go flying past our camera. We got I think that's Vieira there, maybe with a small connection issue, or it could be Bastos. It might be Bastos, so that could be something that could come back to haunt Paul Bastos later in the race. Looks like he may have disappeared also. Yeah.
Yes, that's unfortunate for him, as we're seeing Monroe trying to hamper Vince Banky there. Banky, remember, this is a driver that has a lot of pace, but does he really have the racecraft to kind of contend with these superstar drivers like Monroe, like Durnedin, who's in front of him? We'll see, but right now, this is the best spot he's going to have to really make positions up, because this Chevy is really not the best on tire wear. It's going to drop off slightly before, that Honda behind him in Monroe, so he really needs to make hay against some of these Hondas while he has the pace and while those tires have some life in them.
Trostrom is watching this battle between Stanger and Kunze. It looks very, very interesting indeed right now. He's got a good seat for it. And Kunze looking very, very menacing indeed. Baldi's not checking out like Monroe did in that first race. So this will be giving encouragement to the chasing pack.
I think maybe Kunze's learned his lesson not to sit here and drive completely aggressive in the opening couple of laps, because that allowed Monroe to kind of get away, and it kind of burnt Kunze's tires in the process. Now he's kind of maybe letting the race come to him a little bit. You don't like the fact that Trostrom and Wiesemüller are directly behind you, but so far I think Kunze, if he can just let this race develop a little bit more, not allow Baldi to get that nice 2-second cushion, then he certainly can take this race to victory. So I think that's exactly what his mentality is here.
On board with Sakovic here. He's in a big battle with Jacobs ahead of him, and I think Wheeler also involved in this. No, it's just Jacobs and Tarski, ahead of him. Is in 27th position, but looking at the back of Jacobs' car, looks like it's been through a couple of rounds with George Foreman already.
Yeah, that car is looking pretty beat up. I mean, this is to be expected when you're the back half of the field. You're fighting, you're scrapping tooth and nail to stay in a Division I, where you got the broadcast, where you got the stream, where all the fans are kind of watching. So yeah, these guys are going to fight tooth and nail to absolutely keep within Division I. Remember, there's 3 divisions here in TCOne, so these guys have made a journey even just to be here. So it's understandable that they would fight like this for these spots.
Yeah, and you're thinking, oh, they're 27th. That's now, but actually, they're 27th out of well over 100 drivers. So it's very interesting indeed. And Stanger challenged Baldi there, and that has allowed Kunze to go through on the inside. And it looks like maybe Trostrom will go through and follow through as well. No, Stanger is just holding the position in behind, and he's just held it around the outside, but he has lost it to Kunze. So Kunze to second, and looking like he's very menacing indeed, looking more refined, more composed in this race.
Yeah, so this goes back to what I was saying. Kunze's letting this race come to him. Got the mistake from, just took advantage really of Stanger trying to make a move on Baldi, and now Kunze easily takes that second position. Now this is not a good spot to be in if you're Gergo Baldi. Does he really have the pace to hold off Kunze for the remaining 15 minutes of this race? I'm not quite sure. The thing about, again, Baldi's in that Chevy. That car is not as good on the tires as Kunze's Lada is. So far, I think Kunze actually has advantage with more than half the race to play with.
Yeah, and Stanger there having to follow Kunze down the inside of the track as he swerved, trying to break the slipstream, trying to give himself a bit of relief for a couple of corners, and it looks like he does have that bit of relief, and he now can concentrate on catching up to Baldi. Has taken a couple of tenths out of Baldi in that first sector already.
Yeah, already, Kunze. Now, he doesn't have to deal with anybody hampering him from behind at this point, I would imagine. I really don't think Stanger's got the pace to get right back to Kunze. And meanwhile, Stanger's going to have to deal with Trostrom and Wiesenmuller that might be in cahoots to try to do a little 1-2 punch on the Go Sport to get inside that top 3. Stanger's got a lot of work to do, and I think his focus is going to be more on keeping that 3rd place rather than finding the pace to really attack Kunze. So I think Kunze's in a really good spot. I think Trostrom, Wiesenmuller are in a good spot. Meanwhile, I ultimately believe that Baldi and Stanger are going to make a slide down the field.
Yeah, much more composed in this race so far. Last race was absolutely manic, both on track and off track in the production studio. And Monroe, remember, he won the last race, and now he's 8th. So it shows how your fortunes can change. If you're not on the ball every single second of every single session, this is what happens. You fall down the field, you find yourself battling, and you just end up not performing as well as you should be.
I don't think this is the worst spot if you're John Monroe. This is a driver to show the capability to go through a field at Zandvoort, where I think he qualified in that, I guess, 6th to 12th area, and was always able to get inside the top 10. So Ben Spanky hasn't really been able to make a gap. That Chevy's going to slowly fall away from him as he's going to, he's pestering Banky already pretty much. Even though he's got to deal with Kopp that's coming in behind him in that Lada, which is going to be a strong car throughout the duration of this race. So John Monroe's certainly not in the worst of positions, but I think he can definitely make up maybe 2 or even 3 places by the time everything is said and done here.
I know we said that this race is a bit calmer, but it's not calm for Lerner right now. He's been swapping positions with Butcher. He's got Shepherd and Glavach in behind him. So he's in a battle with the same guys who was battling in the second half of the first race. And again, Lerner just does not have the pace here. He's off by a few tenths of a second, and he finds himself mid-pack. He has said that he's going to concentrate on TC1 rather than competing TC2, but that's not working out for him right now.
This is a bit shocking, really, if you're a Lerner supporter, because we chronicled his struggles in the first race at Zandvoort and how he came about in race 2 and 3. But now this is race 2, doesn't queue well, and hasn't made much progress up a bad queue position here in this second race as well. He's got championship contending type drivers like Chris Butcher in front of him. Shepherd is not going to be easy to drop. He's got Glavik there. Bogdan's not too far off. This is not a good spot. And Lerner almost gets overtaken there by Chris Shepherd. Again, Shepherd is not going to be keen on sitting behind Lerner, who just doesn't seem like he has the pace like he had at Zandvoort. So again, not a good spot for Lerner. And Shepherd's going to take a look here in the turn 3. A little contact. Shepherd's going to try to squeeze by, and is that one done? Lerner's going to fight back now as the inside for turn 4, and they're going side by side all the way down through 6 here, the big hairpin. So I think Lerner's going to be able to hold on to this. He's got the track position, and yes, he holds on to his 11th position, but Shepherd's not letting up that easily. He's going to try to go around the outside on the fast chicane. Chris Shepherd, this is crazy. If he gets this one done, contact. Shepherd's going to get the move done. Chris Shepherd into 10th. No, he's not. Lerner fights right back, gets up to 11th. This is absolute incredible stuff. Even though a little contact by both drivers, so respectful. This is the type of touring car racing that we pay to see here in the TC1. Going into the hairpin, Lerner's going to have his car out in front.
Oh, Bogdan! Bogdan's the victim. Bogdan has been spun off. He got in between Glavach and Shepherd somehow in the braking session there, and away around he went. Oh, there's always going to be a casualty there, wasn't there, Danny? It was just too many cars into too many parts of the track that don't fit that many cars.
I was just about to call Bogdan made the move on Glavik, and it ends in tears for him. Completely lost his car with a slight contact, or contact in the wrong spot that just made him completely lose traction right there. Incredibly unfortunate for Mr. C, who's having an incredible run in his own right in the first 2 races of this event here.
And Pedro Amaral was fighting with Tommy Oyala before. Now Amaral's gone past Chris Visa. They're in 15th, 16th, 17th spot. I neglected to mention earlier that we do have other sections apart from Matthew Wheeler. I did forget about that because they're in Division 2. in the first event. Now they're in Division 1. It's Oyala and Enderman who are both driving together, one-on-one motorsport they're driving for, and they are, decent in that mid-pack right now. It just shows what the Citroen can do, because, Tommy Oyala is a TPS race winner in the distant past, but he's not the fastest driver, in a front-wheel drive car. I mean, he himself will admit that. So imagine if this Citroen was in the hands, say of a Kunze or a Wiesenmuller. I think this car could be competitive. It's been unfairly maligned.
I think you might be right, because, I mean, Tommy's having a nice little run here up to 17th position, and yeah, he fought tooth and nail to get out of Division 2 in Zandvoort. Was so gutted not to make Division 1.
He's fighting tooth and nail here also, as well as DeVos gives him a touch-up. It might be Mike Bell actually giving him a touch-up.
Yeah, Mike Bell, we haven't caught his name today so far. We've had an incredible run at Zandvoort as well, but just couldn't quite, hasn't been able to quite get the pace here today, as Tommy's getting a bit of a bump by one of the Chevys there as he exits. Actually, I'm sorry, that was a little bit a while ago where he got bumped out of the exit of turn 12, I should say.
You've got to bump into turn 1 also. So he's still fighting with Mike Bell here. These guys are pretty good friends. They hang out on TeamSpeak a lot, and there will be words. It will be quite awkward in TeamSpeak if this continues. If there's a few bits of bashing carry on like they are right now, and into each other they go once again. And finally, with Bell, who takes that position. I'm not sure Oyala will be happy about that, because he did get a bump heading into that final hairpin, and eventually he's lost position because of it. Wiesenmuller has lost position, speaking of that, to Dornedin. And here he is, and he's involved in a big battle with both Stanger, Dornedin and Banke.
Yeah, Wiesenmuller not going to be happy to lose a spot at all there, so he's going to be fighting, and it's Banke's now taking a big and sideways into the final corner. He holds it together, but I think that's going to allow, who is that in the lot of this? Cop. Cop's going to sit there and capitalize on this, gets around Banke, is now side by side with Banke. Wiesenmuller amazingly holds his position in 6th spot, so Wiesenmuller doing whatever he can to now try to get back. Oh, as there's Cop and Banke getting a little bit of contact into that first corner. Everything I think is pretty sorted, nothing too dangerous going on there, but not really sure how Banke's going to feel about that contact he made with Wiesenmuller. Wiesenmuller did have his car out in front, so really not much Banke can complain about it, if you will, but Wiesenmuller holds on to 6. Now he's got a bit of a gap now to the 2 Go Sports in Dornedin and Stanger for 4th and 5th.
Yeah, I think, contrary to the standings here, I think Vieira is in 10th spot rather than 11th, and maybe has had a bit of a lag. Maybe 10th spot rather than Butcher, should I say. It's had a bit of lag, and he's now no longer appearing on the standings, because you see there's Monroe there in the red, white and green Honda. You've got in behind him a blue Honda. I think that's Vieira or maybe Bastos. Well, can't see that on the standings either. Let's try and see. And he's not appearing on our overlay either. So definitely we've got a ghost Brazilian in 10th spot right now. So everyone who's actually 10th and below is lower down.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Vieira. He looked really quick in that Q2 session, held provisional pole for a bit, so he was certainly looking for it to potentially get a top 5. Didn't really want to be in the spot he is now, where he's having some lag issues, of course, and not only that, but just being in the bottom half of that top 10 or so. Vieira really wanted to kind of make a stamp on the championship, and that's the thing about the Brazilians. They were looking to really kind of bounce back from their really poor Zandvoort effort, and so far, not really able to do that. We're seeing Bastos around 14th, so not really again what they were looking for.
And for some reason I couldn't see the wood for the trees there with Bastos there in that position, but Lerner and Shepard are still hard at it for 11th spots, or should I say for 12th spots, and Shepard down the inside of Lerner, no. Yes, contact, and Lerner gets sideways. Shepard has to back off. Glav actually going to try and take advantage here. No, he's not. He's going to allow his teammate on the inside. Hasn't taken advantage of that. Probably should have done. A more ruthless driver would have taken advantage there. But Lerner finding himself in a real big battle here. But again, he's not moving forward in these races. He's just getting involved in battles or moving forward slowly. Looks like he did in that first event at Zandvoort when he qualified down the field. So everything is not well in the Lerner house right now.
When you see a weakness in Lerner like this means there's a weakness in Team Euronics, which everyone thought was pretty much unbeatable after Zandvoort. And the odd thing about Lerner's struggles here is that he's going up against 2 Chevys that At this point, with about 5 minutes left on the board, their tires should pretty much be cooked, and he's still being challenged and hampered by Chris Shepard, who will not allow the German get away whatsoever. And I'm pretty sure that remember Glavik and Shepard are direct teammates in Smile Power. That's kind of why Glavik just didn't go after his teammate. He realized he's being held up by Lerner, as again Shepard takes a look into the first corner around the outside. That was never going to come off, but Shepard getting more and more desperate to get this move done. And it's nice that he has his teammate in behind him as a buffer, but at some point Glavik's got to say, yo buddy, either get it done or move aside. So only 5 minutes to go at this point. We'll see what these Small Power drivers can do.
Yeah, Glavak eventually is going to try and push through. Going to go try and push through here, actually, in fact. Going to go up the inside along with his teammate. He can't quite make it. Couldn't quite get his car in that gap between Lerner and the corner. Got a small overlap here heading into the S's, but he should slot in behind Lerner and have a go later on. But Shepard here is having to defend heavily from Lerner still. Make sure he holds on to that position. He should do it this time around as long as he gets a good exit here from the S-bend going onto the back straight down towards the fast chicane they come now. Unless Lerner has an overlap here, we won't be able to take the position because there is hardly any braking zone here at all.
Really nicely done from Shepard to get this move in the books. Now hopefully his teammate can get through as well. And now we're seeing Marlon Bastos just creep up on these three drivers. Is now in a position where he can capitalize on someone's mistake or potentially just make an outright overtake on Janko Glavik, who just seems a little bit tentative, a little bit passive. Maybe allowing himself to be opened up by Bastos here, may potentially get that position.
Kunter is all over the back of Gergo Baldi here. We've got Trostum just messing with the leaderboard there on the left-hand side. Ignore that. He is in third spot right now. But Kunter all over the back of Baldi, and it's 3 minutes to go. This is where the pressure will begin to tell for Baldi, because it is common opinion that the Chevrolet has worse tyre wear than the Lada, and that Kunter's driving style is also very conducive to saving tyres as well. So Baldi here, after driving for 17 minutes in the lead of the race, having to concentrate that entire time, now finds himself in the hardest part of the race, having to concentrate even more, having used all of that mental energy. So, can Baldi hold on?
I thought this would have been done about 4 or 5 minutes ago, because Kunster really got this close to Baldi around that time. Baldi was able to open up a gap around 7/10 after that, and now again this gap has shrunk down. And you're seeing Baldi's able to get a nice little exit out of the chicane there. It's got a nice bit of gap going to the first corner, and that's what you want. Just break the toe a little bit, allow himself to defend going to this first corner. The thing about this Chevy that it can downshift faster than the other cars, so it's really hard to overtake him going into this first corner. And I think Baldi's going to be able to defend around here pretty consistently, and right there he does. And yet, only 2.5 minutes, about 2 minutes I should say now, remaining. Can Baldi hold up? I think he actually can do this. This is a very experienced driver, Ryan. Knows how to position his car going into these corners. I think Baldi can get this one to come off here.
Baldi has not won a Touring Pro Series event since Supertech Series, I think in 2014, if I'm not mistaken, Danny. And so he will be hungry to make sure he tries and wins this. He has got race winning pedigree both here and elsewhere, but he's under huge pressure, especially in those slower traction zones. That's where the tyre wear really harms you. And there is another lap to go after this.
Look at Kunter just trying to position his car on the exit of these corners just to hamper Baldi a little bit, maybe get his put a touch on the rear quarter panel or so, just to make sure Baldi's run is a little bit off ideal. And now they're setting up for this chicane here. Kunter on the outside, Baldi trying to hold it inside. He's going to have that one done. Kunter at this point is just going to try to position his car to attack Baldi going to this first corner. And look at this, he's already interrupted Baldi's line going into the final corner. Let's see if Kunter can get this run. He's right on the bumper of Gergo Baldi. Baldi's going to pull it to the pit straight. Let's see if Kunter is going to go to the outside. He does. There is an overlap. Can he outbrake Baldi around the outside? They're going into this first corner. And no, that's not going to work. That's simply not going to work if you're Kunter. Baldi's going to hold the inside. Kunter's going to try to sweep around the outside, get the run into turn 2. Let's see if he can do it. He's got the inside. I think he's actually got it done. This was superb racing from Kunter. He planned this one out last lap, and you just saw the meticulous car placement from the German, and he's going to have the lead with less than a minute to go here. I believe they're going to go around this final time or next time through will be the last lap. Or it could be this time. We're kind of not the best at calling these races, Ryan. So
no, this is the final lap. This is the final lap. So Kuntz has made a last lap pass to win this race, it seems. So he would go into 3 race wins from 5 races so far. And the key thing is that although, of course, he was usurped in that first race, the rest of the field that was challenging him for the championship lead was also usurped. So he has extended his championship lead massively off the back of this event, and it looks like he's going to extend it even more as Trostrom is challenging Baldi in the final stage of this race also as well. And Baldi will be utterly gutted.
Yeah, this was such a great drive from Gergo Baldi. To finish second here on the final lap, it's going to be really heart-wrenching for him. Unfortunately, though, Julian Kuntz just made an absolute pro overtake. I mean, the way he thought that one out was simply superb. You can't really question this guy's racecraft after seeing a move like that. No. Meanwhile, down the field, we saw Wiesema lose the position to Monroe, fall back all the way to 8th, so certainly not what you want if you're Rob. Monroe makes up a couple positions, but ultimately not the race you're looking for if you're Monroe after winning the first race, to qualify 9th now and finish 7th. Certainly he's looking to do a little bit better than that.
Oh, and speaking of people with poor results, Danny, look where Lerner is, 26th.
Wow.
26th.
That's simply not good enough if you're a Euronics driver in this team and you've got your teammate winning 3 or 4 races. I know Lerner's got a race win in his own right. He simply has to do better than that with the team's championship at stake here. He just can't do this 2 races in a row like that.
No, he couldn't, winning the race and Lerner 26th. There's no excuses when it comes to that, when it's your direct teammates with the same setup, same access to everything. Obviously, he did really well at Zandvoort, matching him after coming back. But here, the comeback has not happened. So, whatever's happened when he was battling, with Shepard and with a couple of other drivers, Glavac as well. In fact, what's happened to Shepard? Did Shepard have the same problem of ping 0? Because he's ended up 29th. So that's interesting.
Well, he was in a battle with Lerner. Maybe there's some sort of massive contact there because those drivers are fighting with one another. So that's really unfortunate that both of them would wind up that way. Glavac does prevail in that one to get 12th. Bastos winds up passing all 3 of those drivers that he was behind to finish 11th. So very shaken up results there at the back half of that race.
But at the front of the field, it's almost like normal service resumed. Kuntz a very measured race. Very measured passing also as well in the end, and he's ended up taking that race win, and it was a superbly executed overtake, wasn't it? Set it up several corners before and finally took the pass and the race win as a result.
The big question mark for Kuntz coming out the first race was that his racecraft maybe didn't seem that as dominant as his pace, if you will.
He was always at the front. We couldn't see any racecraft.
Well, if you remember right, he had the issue with Durden where maybe he was a little bit too aggressive, wound up turning Durden, and just didn't seem that comfortable in the pack. Now we saw it again in the first race where he maybe a little too aggressive early on. He seemed like he just settled himself, realized that he doesn't have to push the car so hard in the opening half of the race and just let it come to him. And that's exactly what he did. It was such a well thought out and planned race. Reminds me of one of the great TPS drivers in history, Peter Duivelar, who used to think his races through like this at stage by stage. And that's what we saw from Kuntz. And to make the move on the final lap from Gergo Baldi, who's experienced at defending, who's experienced race winner at high levels in sim racing, simply world class.
It was a very, very impressive event there from Gergo Baldi and Julian Kuntz also as well. Gergo's shown he can run at the front. We had some doubts, didn't we, Danny, heading into this race about whether he would actually even turn up after he had a shocking event for him in the first race, really, when you think about it. But he's really shown his worth. After that first race, he was involved in that big battle pack. I thought, here we go again. Not quite perhaps put the practice in. Hasn't quite got the pace for it. Not quite fully committed. Will we see him at the second race? And then second race, sticks it on pole, almost wins the race. So that's answered any doubts anybody would have over him.
Yes, very much so. He came back emphatically in the second round, and I'm curious what he can do in this Q3 session. The interesting thing going on in the Teams Championship is that M Technology Now they're in a position. I think they've jumped Euronics at
Definitely
this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and remember their drivers are Jan Trostrom and Robert Wiesemuller. And the thing about Trostrom is that this guy is so consistent from round to round. We don't really talk about him because he's always there in fourth, fifth, third position. I think he's gotten 2, 3 podiums so far already this season, sitting second place in the championship coming into today's events. So this is a driver that I think is going to be able to potentially secure a team's championship for M Technology. If anything, it's been Rob Wiesemuller that's been more of the question mark in this team, as he kind of has these moments where he slides down the field to 8th or 9th or things of that nature. So far, this M Technology crew looking very strong at the front.
Yeah, they're looking like the most consistent team so far, with two strong drivers, aren't they? You know, they're both drivers that put in the results time and again. Wiesemuller's not the results that he's wanting personally, but of course he's outmatching Lerner quite a bit right now. Lerner is all over the place, either in the top 2 or 20th right now. So I'm sure there's words at Euronics. Euronics as well are a big esports team. They've got several fingers and several pies. So there may be a few words spoken to Moritz after this event, to step it up, because he's not qualifying well enough, and because everyone's so close. It is quite difficult to pass because everyone is so close. You have to qualify well. When you pass somebody, you often get repassed halfway around the next lap. You don't just pass them and get on with it, like we see in real life racing, in Formula 1 or whatever. You pass and then that's it. You've passed and away you go. You're done. In touring car racing and in sim racing in particular, if you pass somebody, it's not a done deal. So you have to qualify well. We saw Kunze in the first race here, qualified 4th. What happened? He didn't win the race. In this race, he qualified on the front row. He ended up winning the race. Pole position person, Monroe, qualified on pole, won the race. And at the first event, obviously, only Kunze qualified on the pole positions, and he came first, and second. So, the big story that's come out of it so far is qualifying is more important than the racing almost.
Yeah, and I was willing to give Lerner the benefit of the doubt. Maybe a bit of an aberration that happened in the first race, at round 1 at Zandvoort. But to show through like this, not only in race 1 but race 2, and like you're saying in these Q sessions in particular, it's just not good enough. And like you're saying with Euronics, this is a big deal in sim racing. The team Euronics, especially German sim racing, they might have some words with Alex or Lerner about this. So it's certainly not going to be something they're willing to take lightly, I would say, because you've got M Technology, Go Sports, their Smile Power, their drivers are maybe not that consistent, but certainly they're putting up nice results from round to round. It's not good enough when you have a driver winning 3 or 4 races to be there back there in the 20th, past 20th, I should say. He's done that twice now, and I don't know if you're Moritz Lerner, you certainly have some questions to answer coming out of this one, because that Euronics, everyone expects them to be on that within the top 5. That's kind of what's expected of those type of drivers. So certainly something we'll have to keep our eye on.
Absolutely. But again, another thing that illustrates that the issues you have as in qualifying. We saw Monroe qualify at the back end of the top 10 in the second race, and where does he finish? Back end of the top 10. And that's not a static back end of the top 10. There's many positions swapped over that race. It's not a case of like Formula 1 where if you qualify somewhere you get stuck there because you're held up by somebody or you can't pass because of the air or whatever. What happens is you're back there, you battle, you swap positions, and you just end up where you were. So again, it illustrates that, doesn't it? And if you're a few tenths off where you were in the first session, then you qualify back into the top 10 rather than pole position. The standard is so high, it's so close. Have to make sure you're on your A game every second of every session.
Very much so. And then we saw this with Smile Power, where they've got a quietly really strong lineup in Janko Glavak and Chris Shepard, and these drivers featured really, solidly in this second race. But then Shepard we didn't see what happened. Maybe there was some type of issue between him and Lerner. They both finished past 20th place or so. But that you've got to hold on to those results when they're there for you. And even more than that, if you're Chris Shepard, we expect him to be a driver that can get these top 5s and certainly top 10. So clearly maybe he's lacking a bit of the pace that we expected from him going into this championship. Glavak, if you remember, he got a 5th in the final race at Zandvoort. So we know this driver can bring more to the table. And if Smile Power really want to compete at the front end of this championship, in the team's championship, they're going to have to consistently get these top 10s. And so far in that race, both of their drivers outside the top 10, that's simply not good enough.
No, it isn't, and it kind of would have been good enough, to be around the top 10 area if he hadn't shown such strong pace in pre-qualifying.
Yeah, and we expected more. We expect more.
Exactly. So the context, changes so massively. So it would be interesting to see how they bounce back here. We've got just under 2 minutes to go here until we head back into the third race. So we'll be right back after these couple of videos, and we'll set you up for this third race, and of course qualifying for this third race. Hello and welcome back, and just to let you guys know, on RaceRoom right now they've released a new track pack for you guys, a European track pack. As you can see, there are 19 tracks, over 35 different layouts from those, and they are all heavily discounted as well. If you already own some or most of the tracks in that pack, your tracks are also heavily discounted as well. I just picked up Nordschleife, Paul Ricard and Spa-Francorchamps for and a RaceRoom Hill Climb as well, which I don't think counts, but put that up for just a fiver. A fiver is £5, £5 sterling for you guys in the EU, so about €7-8. So really good deal at the moment. Make sure you check that out, because the prices are fantastic and very competitive indeed for these fantastic tracks that these guys have made in RaceRoom. Danny, we're going to go into the race, the race for pole position, should I say? I saved it down here.
You did. That was well done right there. That's pro stuff.
So we're going to qualify here. The race for pole position. Who's your bet on pole position, Danny?
It's really interesting. So far, 2 different pole sitters, neither of which have been Julian Kunze. At this point, I'm going to put in a bit of a dark horse pick. I'm going to say Jan Trostrom is going to find a way to get the pace, get the pole position. And if he gets pole position, of course he's going to win the race, I feel. But I think Trostrom's going to maybe get a solid run together and sneak a pole position.
Looks like it's got a good first sector there, if my eyes don't deceive me. A low 37 is pretty good. He looked very smooth through those S-bends also as well. Let's see what kind of lap time he does here, because watching him, the lap times will all flood in on your left-hand side in the next few seconds. So we'll see where everybody stands. I mean, around the final corner now.
I'm a bit of a Trostrom fanboy, if you will, because this is the guy that's... If it's not Julian Kunze that wins this championship, I believe it's this guy right here, Jan Trostrom, because I think he's got the makings of a champion. He's consistent. He seems to be a very even-tempered type of person that's going to be able to just put a solid mindset going in from round to round, just going out there getting his work done. And I think there's some other drivers that just get a little too frazzled from round to round, if you will. And I think Trostrom's the guy that's going to be able to just be nice and steady, as he's so far sitting in 7th position. That's certainly not the good enough if you want to get a pole. He doesn't really seem to be around the mark, a couple of tenths off what Glavak was able to do.
Everyone's slow right now. 25.5 for Glavak is the fastest so far. So at the start of this session, some reason, everyone's really slow. Remember, pole position 25.2 in the second qualifying. Qualifying 1 was 25.3, and suddenly no one's going faster than 25.5. It could be people's mental energy is really being sapped right now.
Yeah, these guys kind of got to get used to the car just going flat out again. The tires aren't worn. All of a sudden, they're 100% fresh, and you got to be able to go push 10 tenths. Sometimes you need to kind of a lap or so to get that type of rust off, if you will. Chris Butcher looking pretty strong. This is a driver that hasn't featured at all so far in this championship. It'd be really nice to see if he can somehow get inside this top 5 to begin with. I
can't remember the last time Chris Butcher started the championship well. He always seems to grow into them. As Kunze goes pole position, Lerner goes pole position. Oh, here we go. Lerner finally has a good lap in. Wiesenmuller goes 4. So Lerner finally at the head of the field.
Yeah, Lerner, he took the pole, I believe, in race 3 at Zandvoort. So this is a driver that does have the ability to, of course, start that high in the field. Certainly he's going to feel the pressure of his first 2 races kind of mounting. He really needs to hold on to his pole position. 25.3, that's certainly a time that can take this pole position. We'll see if anyone can top that time before the session's out.
There's Wheeler. He's currently at the back end of the field and has been quite a lot. Goodness me, that's a lot of lock on the car there, Matthew. As he comes out the final corner, will he improve his position? He does. He goes 25th overall. Of course, that small bit of overlock there could be a small bit of lag, as Bastos here looks like he might improve if he has a really good final sector. No, and really poor final sector, in fact, actually. So Bastos the 3rd. And now we're here with Chris Shepherd. We've got a minute left in qualifying here. So if people aren't already halfway through their qualifying lap, they will not be setting any other lap times.
Look at Bogdan. Another really strong result for him. And Monroe not really able to repeat the performance we saw in that Q1 session. So he's certainly going to try to get a little bit better if he can.
Yeah, we got a quarter of a second separating the top 11 right now. In fact, the top 12. That's absolutely insane, Danny. You're a quarter of a second off pole, and you're 12th.
Yeah, that's touring car racing for you. Ben Spanky, I really wanted to see him do a little bit of magic
Glavak!
in the Q3 session. Well, there it is!
Glavak to pole. He's taking it. Trostrom is 15th, Danny. You've put the commentator's curse on him.
Wow, so far from my expert insight.
I think Danny's now sacked.
Yes, I'm done.
So everyone has finished their qualifying laps now then. So it's Glavak from Lerner, from Kunze from Bastos, from Baldi, Wiesenmuller, Shepherd, Butcher, Banky and Monroe. Again Monroe in around that 10th spot area. Butcher out qualifying his teammates this time around. Actually, Bart de Vos has gone 8th somehow. Not quite sure. No, he hasn't. He's just tricking me. He's actually 16th. No,
we were
I tell a lie. Bart is, I can't find him. He's actually 28th. So not 8th, 28th. My apologies.
We were questioning these small power boys, and then they go and take a pole position, and yank go Glavak. So just a tremendous result for them. I think Glavak's the type that can actually get this race win if he can just hold off these Euronics guys who are right in behind them.
But what should happen here is that Kunze should really challenge Lerner into that first corner, because remember that right side of the grid, left side as you're looking at it right now, is not grippy at all off the start line. And look, there we go. Lerner's a tardy start as a result. In fact, tardy start compared to everybody else as well. And Kunze already into that second spot. Baldi's challenging Lerner. We've got Trostrom there also as well. Bastos there as well challenging. We've got Shepherd around the outside. And Kunze trying to dip it in there. Baldi, he shoved it straight in there, trying to now challenge Kunze for that second spot. But Glavak has control of the race. And Baldi, he slots into that 3rd spot. So Baldi has backed up that extremely impressive race 2 and qualifying 2 with a good qualifying 3 and a good start to race 3.
I mean, this is just so such a pity for Lerner because there's nothing he can really do starting on the dirty part of the track there. You saw the tires smoke up so much that he struggled to get that lot off the line and just inevitably lost a couple of positions. Now it's got to deal with one of the M Technology drivers, Visa Muller, in here behind him. Chris Shepard's made a great start. I think he qualified 7th up to 6th, I believe.
Yep, 6th. Yeah.
Was 5th at one point, fell back to Visa Muller, but certainly really nicely done for the Smile Power boys to hold a 1st and 6th, and we are still in the first lap here, so really nicely done from Smile Power.
Yep, and now Lerner's having to defend from Visa Muller, heading into the final chicane, so it was remains to be seen whether Lerner can actually keep himself up in this area, just as he did at Zandvoort. When he qualified well, he kept himself up here. But does he have the pace? We got Shepard now challenging Visa Muller very heavily indeed. Shepard now has an overlap on Visa Muller, heading down the front straight. No, he doesn't. He's slotted back in once again. I thought he had the overlap. That's a deceiving angle as Visa Muller now covers to the inside. Bastos has a look also well. Sorry, I'm so used to Trostrom being up there. That's he's not number 19, number 29. So, but Trostrom is 18th. Danny, I don't think he wants you to mention his name ever again.
I wouldn't blame him for thinking that way because such an uncharacteristic performance from the German. Meanwhile, as we're seeing Rob Visa Muller continue to take on Chris Shepard, and I think this the fastest that you can get around. Who is that?
Oh,
in the background.
Vieira.
Roll.
Oh, if there's trouble, Aldedo Vieira will find it. He will find it. You can guarantee it. Can he get the car started again?
Oh
nope.
my goodness!
Out.
I think that's one of the worst accidents we've ever seen that I've ever seen in a race room.
Goodness me, what happened there?
Completely rolled the car.
Another story. Qualified 8th, Chris Butcher, 20th. 20th.
Chris.
So he's probably got his dander up on also now as well. Going to try and fight his way back there in the number 2. And he has, I think it's Oyala ahead of him. Yes, he does. Going to go for the cutback here as Oyala ran deep into the final chicane. And Butcher will take that 19th spot away as Visa Muller is battling... Chris Visa is battling with Bastos. So we've got Visa Muller, Shepard and Visa. If it's not confusing enough for you guys. And he's also lagging as well. We'll just jump off him a second. As hopefully he gets that sorted out. He's now dotting around. He's racing with Bogdan. Again, Bogdan running in the bottom half of the top 10. And looking very strong. Well, Glavac is still leading from Kunze and from Baldi. That has remained static at the front. And everyone's very close, in fact. 2.2 seconds covering the top 6. There they are all are in the same shot.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what Lerner can do. You mentioned that he was able to stay up at the front in race 3 at Zandvoort, but the thing is he made an overtake in the first corner against his teammate Julian Kunze and just stayed there for the remainder of the event. Now he lost a couple of spots. He's got drivers like Visa Muller, Shepard, Bastos lining up behind him. Can he really defend from these guys? We saw him have such an issue with this in the first couple races tonight so far. We'll see if now he can hold on against one of the greatest overtake artists TPS has ever seen in Rob Visa Muller, who is right there in 5th position.
What we've seen from Rob, though, in these races, he's never moved forward, really. He just kind of, at the end of the first lap, is just where he's ended up.
Very true, very true. Visa Muller has not really looked like the Rob of old, if you will. Not that dominant force that's always moving up the field. Now, like you're saying, he just kind of stays put. Can't quite get his footing in most of these races. And now he's in a position he needs to score a lot of points for M Technology, as he takes a look up the inside into the first corner. Lerner defends pretty well, but now Visa Muller's got to deal with Chris Shepard right in the back of him. And Chris Shepard is always looking for an opportunity, so Visa Muller has to be conscientious of this at all times on the racetrack, because remember, Lerner and Shepard had a fight in the second race. Let's look at this. Lerner makes, I don't know what that was, runs on the curb,
what
maybe
happened
even
there?
a bit of a lag spike. I don't know what that was, Ryan.
Did he hit the pit limiter, maybe? Maybe he hit the pit limiter, because it just slowed right down, didn't it? And he's fine again. There was no curb hit. I didn't see that. He didn't get sideways. He just stopped.
Yeah, I mean, incredibly funky. I thought, he hit the curb because that car just said no. And he loses 2 positions like that.
He's having a nightmare event.
Yeah. certainly that's not what you want to see. He's having massive trouble with Chris Shepard. Not really sure if he's going to be able to overtake Shepard in the early part of these races when that Chevy's tires are still really strong. As he's going to take a look into the hairpin. No, he slots right back in behind Chris Shepard. And now Chris Shepard's got to find a way to get to this man right here, Rob Wiesemüller, in 4th position. We'll see if he can do that with still a lot of time to go.
He can't do that when he's being touched up by Lerner into the final corner. Goodness me. Lerner now is looking to try and pass also as well, which is a bit naughty considering he held up Shepard into that final corner. But Lerner is still in that 6th spot, right behind Shepard, looking to the outside. Lerner Brutus here.
To do this into the final corner with a final lap with Baldi, but Lerner can't quite link it together like that.
Not executed in the same way. Definitely not. That's very, very true. Kunter's right behind Glavak now as well. Right behind him, around the outside, in fact. He may have the overlap here. He's got it! He's got the overlap. No, Glavak has cut him off. Apologies for my voice there. Went all 14-year-old. There's Baldi now down the inside of Kunter. Going to take that position away, and that is touring car racing right there. You challenge for one position, you lose another. He's not going to lose it because Glavak, in his haste to try and get away from this pack, made a small mistake and actually held up poor Baldi. Oh, there's contact between Kunter and Glavak, and Baldi's through once again. So it means Baldi did take position in the end there, and now Baldi is challenging the back of Glavak for this race lead.
I actually just think Glavak lost the race. He had a slight opportunity to make some sort of gap to these two drivers and let them fight amongst themselves. He blew it by his entry into turn 6, and now there is no room whatsoever between himself, Baldi, and the championship leader, Julian Kunsters. Kunsters on the inside. I think he's going to have that one down on Baldi. Okay, right now Glavak has got to get away, get some sort of gap if he wants any hope of winning this race, because he's got two cars in constant warfare with one another, and there's no gap to put between himself and them. Simply not good enough.
Look what's happened here, though. Baldi had this slipstream from Glavak because they were side by side, and of course Kunter couldn't get it, which meant Baldi got pulled past Kunter down the straight once again and held on to the position. That was very, very helpful there from Glavak on Baldi. Probably the right thing to do as well, because you would probably think that Kunter would be more of a threat for this race win, considering Baldi's car will drop off later in the race.
Yeah, so this is ideal for Glavak when Baldi gets that overtake down, and now we're starting to see a slight bit of gap. If you're Janko Glavak, he needs to just work on this. Hopefully Kunter now goes into battle again with Baldi, and then maybe Glavak can get that second buffer like Monroe did in the first race, and that is it. I think he's got a slight bit of gap here. He just needs to capitalize on this and pull away a little bit more.
Yeah, Glavak here this is when an engineer would be in his ears right now saying, eyes forward, don't concentrate behind you, because right now they're battling, not in position to overtake. You make the gap you can make, but it's not happening. Baldi's just inching up on the back of him as he goes a bit deep there. He's trying so hard, Baldi, and he just lost all that gap that he made up over that lap to catch back up to Glavak. He's just lost, and now he's under threat from Kunter. You can hardly see Kunter. You just see his yellow wind mirrors sticking out behind Baldi as they head down towards the first turn, but Kunter this time didn't go for it. Feasible down the inside of Kunter. He's going to make it stick. What a move! He's made it stick as well! Goodness me, what a move from the Shark.
That is the Wiesemüller of old. Massive dive bomb. There's slight contact once he got into the corner, but that is legal, that is fair. Kunter's not going to be happy with that one, but certainly Rob Wiesemüller taking advantage like he has been known to do, and that really helps Gergo Baldi. Now he can just focus on getting this man in first place, Janko Glavak. We're going to have Smile Power versus Gergo Baldi, who I don't think is actually affiliated with the team, so he's certainly going to try to...
He's with the A-team.
Well, you know, the A-team is going to certainly try to overtake the Smile Power driver, and I don't think he really has to worry about Wiesemüller. Maybe Wiesemüller, I think Wiesemüller simply caught up to both Kunter and Baldi because they were fighting. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Wiesemüller has found a little bit more pace here in this final race here at Nürburgring. Maybe he can potentially play for a race victory.
And Baldi's struggling at that fact. She came once again and through. He's going to go Wiesemüller. That's the third lap in a row that Baldi's been slow there. He's now 3 wide with Wiesemüller and Stanger.
This is incredible. Where did Wiesenmüller come from? I didn't even think he was in fourth. Somehow he made the overtake. Again, he got through Lerner, I remember, and now he's in second position. He's got one man to beat for this race win, and if you're Glavik, this is exactly what you want to see. He's got it now about a second gap. Can he hold on to this race when he's
hello. Kunze there, bashing into the back of Wiesenmüller. Sorry to interrupt, Danny, but that was a big hit. And they're all concerteering up. We got Wiesenmüller being hit by Kunze. We got Baldi being touched up by Shepard. We got Lerner in the background as well. Also lurking. Moritz Lurker.
Baldi, meanwhile, he was in second place only a lap ago. Now all the way down to fourth. Julian Kunze is going to be a madman trying to get around Wiesenmüller. It's going to hold no type of quarter sitting here to get around his fellow countrymen, because probably not the happiest with Wiesenmüller's move into the first corner. I think Wiesenmüller made a legal move, but some of these drivers can be a little bit touchy about that kind of thing.
It was very hard, but again, remember, this isn't a tea party. This is good, hard, fast racing, and winning means everything. So we're not looking for gentlemen out here, we're looking for winners. And one person who is winning, definitely in his eyes, is Bogdan right now. He's in 7th spot in race 3. He's looking superb. Absolutely superb. He's in 7th spot. He's got Bastos behind him. The two Go Sport guys, Dornedin and Stanger. And also Kopp as well involved there. I think Chris Visa is here somewhere, but I'm afraid he has a connection issue. So he's around. So you see, he pops to the top of the leaderboard there and back down again. So he's 11th spot, probably invisible to these guys and having a torrid time being bashed around probably on his own screen. But Bogdan here looking very strong indeed. And what's your opinion as team owner here, Danny, on Stanger and Dornedin's performance at this event? Because Dornedin took a 2nd spot in the first race, but both of the guys have been pretty off the pace in the next 2 races.
In race 2, I'm very happy with the 4th and the 5th. Right now, I'm simply looking at the fact that Trostrom's down in 19th, if you will, because that helps us gain on M Technology. The thing is, though, Rob Wiesenmüller is certainly carrying the banner for M Technology in 2nd position, so I really don't think M Technology is going to be too upset with Trostrom's performance. Rob Wiesenmüller certainly capable of stepping in.
You said, Danny, that Trostrom is always there in 3rd or 4th or 5th spot.
Well, commentary hasn't been on point.
And now he's all down 19th. He's got a case of the learners, unfortunately.
The case of the learner. That's what we're calling it now.
Yep. The learner's disease.
Yeah, certainly Trostrom's not going to be happy with that whatsoever. Pretty much leaving the door open for someone to take his 2nd position in the championship. We're seeing now Rob Wiesenmüller not able to drop Julian Kunze whatsoever. Kunze's going to now have a look maybe into the first corner. I know Rob's going to defend it really nicely. And look at that, Ryan. Glavik is pretty much gone. He's got the buffer he needs with 6.5 minutes remaining. I think a small power victory is almost imminent at this point.
What's with the race 3 improvement from Glavak? If only he could do it in the first 2 races in an event. He did this at Zandvoort. It just seems like it takes a while to warm up.
Yeah, it seems like certain drivers take a bit to get their feet under them. We've seen it with Lerner. We've seen it with Glavik's another one. And then other drivers kind of fall away in this third race, like Monroe. I mean, he's just constantly going down the field here in this final race. I think he did
12th now.
Yeah, I think he did the same at Zandvoort race 3. So certainly not what you want to, not the right direction if you're Monroe.
We're on board with him, and it's one of those big battle packs once again. We've seen in every single race, challenging to the bottom half of the top 10. Monroe down the inside of Kopp. Big contact. Kopp just holds onto it. Monroe backs out of it, as he should do, because remember, although like I said, it is hard competitive race and looking for winners, it's not about being unfair. And as a result of that, he's actually lost position to Bastos. So karma has come back to bite him there. So 30th spot for Monroe.
It's Brazola that's going to get through on Monroe there.
Sorry, Brazola. Bastos in 9th. I do apologise.
Yeah, but both the Brazilians, I should say, are doing really well. And yeah, this is a massive battle pack here from 12th on down pretty much. So these guys are certainly trying to fight to get inside that top 10 with only 5 minutes remaining.
Banky there also. Amaral, remember he qualified in 2nd spot in that first race. Hasn't repeated it since. He's done a Monroe, gone backwards through the field in the next 2 races. And Banky has split Monroe and Brazola and somehow not passed either of them cleanly. Actually, he might do as Brazola touches the back of him. Amaral down the inside of Brazola. Oh, and Amaral! And not again, Amaral! Oh, poor Pedro.
It's the same spot too, Ryan. Going into that,
Same spot.
the fourth corner, that he just gets tapped and he's completely off the track sideways. A massive heartbreak if you're Pedro Amaral. The Portuguese is not going to be happy. Wow, Monroe, I don't know if he just turned into him or what. Or not Monroe, I believe that was Brazola.
Yeah.
So
obviously it was a completely, a complete mistake, just an accident. But it doesn't matter to Amaral. He's the one way down the field, and yeah, he'll be furious. There'll be some Portuguese swear words, I tell you.
yeah, to say the least. It's kind of odd to see a Chevy just get, because it wasn't that hard a contact, but just such a vulnerable part of the corner that almost nothing he could do. That car was gone. So yeah, hopefully
on board
the
with
smart
Baldi.
power.
Sorry. Hopefully he can bounce back in round 3 because he's shown good pace here, and hopefully in round 3 he can do the same thing. But on board with Baldi, from his point of view, looking at the back of Julian Kunze. So Baldi in his last 2 races has been very consistent indeed. He's very impressive actually. I've been really pleased with him.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he's now linking 2 races together like this, got a second in that second race, the pole position, almost took the win, and now he's fighting for this podium position. Kunze has not been able to get around Wiesenmüller, and neither of these two has been able to drop Gergo. So at this point, I believe consecutive podiums are in play here for Baldi.
Sorry to interrupt, Danny, but Bogdan is catching Shepard and Lerner, and has caught Shepard and Lerner, who are not themselves far off the battle for second spot.
I want Mr. C tested for performance-enhancing drugs at the end of this one. Because this guy is a man on a mission.
Look at he's all over the back of Shepard. You know he'll make a move. He'll never shy away from that.
This harkens back to the Mr. C we saw maybe 5 years ago, back when the TCOne was known as the American Touring Car Championship. This was the type of drive we saw back
Here we go.
Constantly turning moves back
Look
then.
at this.
Now here he is,
He's just like taking candy from a baby.
Mr. C, there we go. He's up to 6th position. A run of
Unbelievable.
Yes, the run of the century here for Mr. C. Almost inside the top 5. Who would have saw this one coming?
Oh, Shepard squeezing him against the pit wall. He's not happy. He's going for it as well. Shepard, another person, not a shrinking violet. But looks like Bogdan's got this. If you just hold him off for a couple of corners. This is the beauty of this track, is that you switch one way than the other constantly as you go. Oh, and Shepard going for the undercut, taps the back of Bogdan down the inside. Bogdan's defending for all it's worth. He should have it now, though. He should have it, and he will have it. And now he can set his sights on the fellow Lada driver of Moritz Lerner.
That was just brilliant racecraft by both drivers. Mr. C, great overtaking. And like you alluded to in the gap before the Q3 session, is that you have, not only you have to be good at attacking, but you have to be able to put up a defense after you make the overtake. And that's exactly what we just saw on display from Mr. C. Brilliant stuff there as the 6th place man tries to now get up to 5th.
Yeah, and it's not beyond the realms of possibility. If those guys ahead of him fight, there's another lap to go after this one. They start bashing door handles and mirrors and doors themselves. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. He can catch up to the back of that group and maybe make a move. So, but we are going to head on to the last lap now then. This race has absolutely flown by the way, Danny. I've only just realised it's the last lap. But Galab actually leading by 1.5 seconds. Like you said earlier, he had to take advantage almost of that battle between Baldi and Kunze, but he took advantage of it the second time around. And speaking of battling between Baldi and Kunze, Baldi's trying to go around the outside now at Kunze at the first corner. Not going to happen. Going for the cutback and not quite able to make the move there either. But now has a good run here and just cut to his side. No, he clips the curb a bit too hard and can't make the move. Wiesenmüller is holding on to this second spot, just about clinging on from Kunze, but Kunze knows he's in a great championship position so far. He's beating all but one of his championship contenders right now. And that's the only one he's alluded to is Wiesenmüller. There's only one position ahead of him.
Yeah,
so he has pretty much beaten every single championship contender in all the races, despite the fact he's been dethroned, as it were.
Yeah, it certainly looks vulnerable, but like you're saying, we have Trostrom in 18th. We're seeing Lerner down in 5th. I mean, Dernert and Stanger, these guys not having the best race 3, so he's certainly done his job, even if he loses this podium position. So if you're Julian Kunze, this is a win-win as far as he and probably Euronics is concerned. Especially now you're seeing Lerner recover to be inside that top 5. Very nice result, not only from Kunze, but like we were saying, Euronics.
Albert Wiesemüller having to defend very hard in the final corner here. Can Kunze make a move? No, he can't. Wiesemüller will take second spot, but the winner and the very first TPS race win goes to Janko Glavac. Congratulations to him. That is his first Touring Pro Series win.
This was so impressive from the small power driver from start to finish. How he held his cool despite Kunze, despite Baldi's challenges for the lead. I mean, he was incredibly assisted by Wiesemüller's hero move on Julian Kunze to kind of throw a third card into that battle pack, and Janko Glavac did exactly what he needed to do: get his head down and just drive consistent laps for pretty much 10 minutes to take this first victory in the Touring Pro Series. He's going to be ecstatic, Ryan, and so are the Smile Power crew, to just pull a race win pretty much out of nowhere like that. So amazing job for Glavac and Smile.
That's the 13th race of his TPS career, and the best result he'd had previously was at the fourth spot when he drove in the V8 Supercars at Bathurst back in 2013. That was a joint result. So the best result by himself was at fifth spot at Zandvoort. So he's continued his progression here. But Glavac wins from Wiesemüller, Kunze and Baldi and Lerner. Now with Glavac, he's 7th in the championship coming into this round. Do you think he can carry this progression on and become a championship contender? It's not beyond the realms of possibility.
This is, I mean, a driver that's this talented, like Gergo Baldi is, and who's actually really good at racing, not only in WTCC cars, but pretty much anything. When you have a guy like this that gets momentum, yes, this is a problem if you're the rest of these drivers in TCOne, even Julian Kunze, because if he's not got the confidence, like, you know what, I can not only outpace these guys, but I can race with them. He's going to be a driver to watch as this championship progresses. Potentially has that ability to morph into like the Chris Butcher type of role from last year, as he got more and more momentum as the series progressed. So he's definitely a driver I'm having my eye on.
Yeah, I know. So the race winners today have been Munro, Kunze, and Glavac. So that's two very unexpected race winners. A brand new race winner in Glavac. And looking at the results there, Bogdan finished 6th spot, and he was only beaten by TPS race winners. So the only people Bogdan was beaten by today, very impressive performance in that race 3, was TPS race winners. Lerner, Wiesemüller, Baldi, Kunze, of course, and of course Glavac.
I would say he is one of the top 3 surprises, top 4 surprises, because yes, Monroe's win in the first race, no one saw that coming. Glavac pretty much stole the show in the third race, and then yeah, Mr. C was just great in every single event. You know, just outperformed what everyone kind of expected from him going into this thing. So, and then of course, like we were talking about, Gergo Baldi, just simply exceptional today. So those 4 drivers are the ones that are just like, they really outperformed themselves, really showed that they were able to kind of make some adjustments from the first race and, you know, make that next step forward. So that's really nice to see as the championship progresses.
Yeah, so we're going to take a couple of moments here just to gather our thoughts before we have driver interviews. So we're going to hear from the drivers who took part in this race. Then your chance will come up in just a couple of minutes' time. Sorry about that, guys. We'll put the sound back on for you guys. We're going to speak first of all to John Munro. John, even you must be shocked by that race 1 result.
Yeah, absolutely delighted. I think we obviously worked hard in practice and managed to get a good setup with the track, and we're working well with Rob Miller, obviously an ex-teammate, and we all kind of worked well together and worked out what to do there. So it was a case of qualifying well for me, which I managed to do, stick it on pole position, bit out of nowhere, but I was delighted with that. And then in the race, just put my head down and just tried to lap as hard as I could. I think once I managed to set the kind of fastest laps towards the start, I just really, really badly wanted to win, and Alex managed to get clear in second, so the two of us were kind of streaking away, and it was a case of just hot lapping. We were almost identical pace, to be honest. So yeah, I was just absolutely delighted with that. Obviously, not expecting to win this early on the season, given the caliber of competition. So
yeah,
it's probably the happiest I've been with the race win.
And even though it doesn't look intense to the casual observer, sometimes those type of races are the most intense because you're having to lap, absolutely on the pace.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not helped as well. I'm still struggling a wee bit with some frame rate issues, and it just takes away that little millisecond of reaction time, which just makes it a little bit more intense. You can still lap pretty much as quickly, but it's just a wee bit tougher if you make a mistake. But as you say, it's super intense, especially knowing what the competition's like in this championship and knowing what I was up against. I think I just really, really badly wanted to win. I was thinking to myself, and Chris can back me up, I was saying halfway through the race, if I don't win this race, I'm not going to win a TC1 race this season. So yeah, it was really intense, but I obviously really enjoyed it after I'd crossed the line.
The next 2 races ended up with you, battling away, but ended up being kind of mired back where you qualified in the end. And you were alluding to earlier, everyone's so close that the qualifying has become so important.
Exactly. I mean, I said leading up to the event to everyone that I've spoken to, basically qualifying is what matters. I think because the competition is ridiculously high, there's only going to be a couple of tenths between all the guys in the top 10, even top 15 sometimes. So it's going to be all about getting the qualifying lap. And the best drivers will shine by being the ones who can consistently get that incredible lap time, such as Julian Koons and drivers such as that. So they managed to do it on a consistent basis. I knew I have the pace, but maybe struggled to do it lap in, lap out. So it was a case of nailing that lap in qualifying. Also knew I had good race pace, but maybe just less consistent. And because they were all battling, it gave me the perfect opportunity to put the head down, fully concentrate, and run away. But it's just a ridiculously competitive field, Ryan. It's in the second and third races, I was a bit down in qualifying, and that was it. The guys around me were still the same speed as me there. So especially race 3, I was down in 10th and at one point, and right behind Jan Stange and Alex Dornady, and they're obviously right at the top as well. So yeah. It was just absolutely mental, but I enjoyed the night and obviously shocked and delated with a win.
Well, congratulations on your pole and win there, Danny. That kind of mirrors what happened with myself last year. Is the unexpected win came almost from nowhere, showing a good pace obviously, but then a win came from nowhere, and John did that, and then of course we went to race 2, and kind of normal service was resumed from Julian Kunze. You want to speak to him now?
Yeah, point is towards Julian. So let's talk us through the opening race when you qualified 4th and were able to get up into a 2nd position, and then kind of got into a bit of a tussle with Derna. Then, how did that go from your perspective?
Good evening. In the first qualifying, I was really unconcentrated, and also in the race start. Luckily, Robert pushed second guy a bit, so I could pass him. And the maneuver with Alex, I really don't know. I watched it in replay, and touched me first in between the 2 fast corners in the back a bit. Pushed me to a bit out of line. After that, he get to my inside, and literally he doesn't let me any space to live. So I did drive in the a bit gravel, and Robert could also pass me.
So going into the 2nd race, you talked about being a little bit unfocused in that Q1 session. You seem to kind of get that all together going into Q2. Why was that? Were you just able to collect yourself, or what was going on there?
Yeah, the first race was a bit of a wake-up call for me, because I did have a really brutal competition with Robert. He did 2 maneuvers on me that I definitely disagree with. So in the 2nd qualifying I did it PB, but it wasn't enough, because Baldi did a really, really good lap time.
So talk us through the final lap of race 2, where you make an incredibly, I think, calculated move against Gergo Baldi. I mean, you seem to kind of set the thing up from a lap and a half out. So talk us through it from your perspective.
Uh, yeah, it was. I know that it was possible to pass someone on the outside there because I saw it in the WTCC stream already. So I tried and hoped that Baldi does brake a bit too early for it, and yeah, that's exactly what happened. Baldi did brake too early, and I brake really late. So yeah, I managed to pass him there.
So one of the final questions I asked you is about psychologically speaking, because after your first round at Zandvoort, I mean, I've never seen such a dominant performance have an effect on a whole league where people are pretty much thinking that you're unbeatable. I'm actually surprised that you made it to this event today, because I thought someone was going to put a hit out on you, Julian, because you demoralized people that much. So, are you aware of how much of a psychological edge you've already accumulated on your competition?
No.
So that kind of thing doesn't even factor in at all with your mindset going into these things.
Definitely not. I try to concentrate really heavy for every race, because yeah, I'm here to win or at least podium, and yeah, I tried with fairly maneuvers, but yeah.
Well done to you, Julian. Incredible performance to get yet another race win under your belt. That's going to secure your championship lead. So certainly good luck to you moving forward. And now, just going to throw it back to Ryan. It's going to have Janko Glavic on the ready.
I am, and Janko, a fantastic race 3 there for you. Fantastic pole and then a win. Your first TCOne Pro Series win. How did that feel?
Well, pretty good. Good evening to all. Was great, you know. Yeah, that's it.
You sound quite tired. Was it very tiring?
Yeah, of course. You know, every lap has to be on the maximum. You know, and it's just so hard. I'm an old guy, so.
So, but Janko, you did the same thing you did at Zandvoort. In Zandvoort, you qualified well in race 3 and then raced well in race 3. And in the first 2 races, you were kind of around the top 10 area, sort of thing, just solid. And then you did the same thing here, where you obviously qualified well and then obviously won the race. Does it take you a while to warm up for these races, or do you think your concentration is just a bit better than other people who fall off, perhaps? Or what is that about? Why you're better in race 3 than you are in race 1?
Yeah, you just. I'm like, you know, diesel cars, you know. I need to warm up, you know. Maybe in race 4 it would be even better. So next time make like 5 races per weekend.
So that's some feedback for next time we have a championship, Danny. 5 races per weekend, just so Janko can win. Yeah. And you must obviously we got quite a few more tracks coming up in the calendar. Is there any tracks that you've looked at and thought, yes, I can be really quick there, I can win again?
I don't think so, no. I mean, I like the next one, but I'm not gonna be racing because I'll be on vacation, so...
Vacations for girls, Janko. Take your computer with you. Race in the hotel.
No, I can't race in the Irish pubs, you know.
You're going to Ireland?
I'll be too drunk, yeah.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Yeah, that is all you can do in Ireland is drink. It's very true. Well, congratulations again, Janko, on your very first TCOne Pro Series win. And,
thank you.
And of course, your very first podium as well, and your first pole. So fantastic stuff. And hopefully we'll see you back at Sonoma, considering you won't be at Mid-Ohio, which is the third race for those people who are wondering. Danny, you're going to now. Thank you, Janko. You're going to speak now to Jan Trostrom after you put the commentator's curse on him in race 3.
Yes, I put the kibosh on my man Trostrom here. So Jan, before we get into your race 3 woes, if you will, talk to us through the first and second race, where you were really yet again consistent to kind of cement yourself in second place in the championship. So how were the first couple races for you?
Yeah, hello. A bit of mixed feelings, I have to say. Screwed up qualifying, to include the third race, screwed up qualifying twice. First race, I don't know really. It's just like there were really heavy battles around me, and I just could sneak through really without doing that much, I have to say. And ended up, I think, on 6. I don't know really. Yeah, pretty good, I have to say. And second race, I just managed to. I think it was my fastest lap in qualifying with 25.4. I think it was. I couldn't possibly go faster, and ended up in the train, of course. Around me, Jan Stanger, I think, Alex, Robert, and we were pretty even for most of the race. And then I think Jan's tires went. So, and Robert tried to take a move, and I somehow managed to sneak through. I don't know really if I touched Jan on that overtake. I didn't feel much in the wheel. I hope I didn't touch him. But yeah, third place, pretty good. And the last race, yeah, screwed up qualifying again. Then first corner, car spun out in front of me, so I was even further back. But ended up having a quite amazing battle with Chris Butcher and Mike Bell. So that was fun, I have to say. But of course, would have been further up the field, yeah.
Now you talked about your qualifying issues, and that seems to be the theme of TCOne 2016 is that you have to qualify well. Do you believe that you can manufacture the pace to potentially get one of these pole positions moving forward?
I don't know. The quickest lap around here in the qualifying, I think, was a 25.2 or 3. I don't know. I did no way I can do that. Maybe on other tracks I will be a bit better. Qualifying has never been my strong side, so I guess I have to work on that.
Well, certainly well done. And let me actually point this towards your teammate real quick. So, Rob, you were a driver that's, definitely a solid first couple races, but you seem to really find your footing in the third race, where that was the kind of the classic Wiesenmuller, if you will. So, what kind of happened there?
In the whole event or in the third race?
Third race.
In the third race, well, I was really angry, and I decided I will go for it. I just pushed really hard and made small setup change, and I just stopped caring, to be honest. I just went for every move, and it paid off, and I finished second.
Do you feel that's the only way really to kind of make any progress in a field like this?
Well, you could qualify on pole, but otherwise, yes.
And about pole, do you feel that that's something that's potentially available to you, or is it just kind of outpaced?
That won't happen because I had really solid qualifying sessions this time, and I did always almost the same time, like within a tenth, and I always qualified at the mid to bottom of the top 10, and so I think my qualifyings are solid. But I never really, also in practice, I never really felt like there was this super lap. So I think this is just what I have to work with.
And finally, about M technology, do you think that considering that Euronics seem to kind of be off form a little bit, do you feel that you can potentially the team can surpass Euronics later in the championship?
Perhaps. I don't know. I mean, it will be interesting. You could see today that it's getting a bit, it's getting a bit more tense. And Julian and I had a fight in the first race, and to be honest, I kind of disagree with his comments earlier on that. So I mean, it's getting a bit more tense, and I just have so much more motivation now to actually win the team's championship.
Well, certainly good luck with that endeavor moving forward. I'll throw it back to my co-host Ryan.
Yeah, I'm going to speak to Mr. C, Karamadara Bogdan, who had one of the races of his life in Race 3. Mr. C, you had a fantastic first couple of races, right up there battling around that top 10 area. And then Race 3, absolutely superb run to 6th spot.
Hello everyone, thank you very much, Ryan. I'm a bit emotional right now. Even though I have a podium in PPS, this is like a win for me, especially Race 3, because I put a lot of effort for this championship. I really want to finish this league, and I wanted to prove that I am top 10 material in this field. And today I proved it. I watched lap times, and I had kind of the same race pace, but I'm not as aggressive in passing. But yeah, it was fantastic. Race 2 was a bit of an off, but other than that, I'm really thrilled.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. And you got stronger and stronger as that race 3 went on. Your tyre wear must have been fantastic.
Yeah, because I was catching, Lochner was in front of me with Shepard, I think, and I was catching them, I was, oh my god, this is awesome, I'm catching these guys. So I passed Chris, but it was too late to catch the other guys, but again, it's fantastic.
Oh, very well done. And you've got a few tracks coming up in the calendar soon as well. Any particular track that you're looking forward to?
Well, from the calendar, Nürburgring would be my best. I love Nürburgring. I also love Mid-Ohio a lot, and Sonoma, and Nordschleife. So that's about the 3 tracks. The blue ones, Brands and Salzburg, I'll be utter shit at them.
I'd like to apologise to our children listening there, Mr. C. Oh, it's banned from interviews. It's banned. And so I think a Mr. C Championship challenge incoming, Danny.
Well, I wouldn't take it that far. Mr. C certainly showed his top 10 capabilities, like he just touched on there.
Yeah, and thank you guys for the interviews. What we've seen there, Danny, is again shock horror, drivers disagreeing about things that happened in races.
Yeah, I mean that's bound to happen. Of course, there was a few kind of untoward moves against one another, but like we chronicled throughout the event, a lot of battle packs developing. Monroe pointed out best where he said, if he qualified on pole and then he qualifies 9th and 10th, and the guys are still his pace. So the only way to get through is if you're a little bit forceful about it. So it's bound to happen. The stewards going to have their hands full, of course. Probably a lot of incident reports, if you will. And so it's going to come down to that to kind of sort out who was in the right and who was in the wrong. But the interesting part about this whole thing, I think, is first round of the championship, Kunze takes 2 or 3. And arguably would take 3 or 3 if it wasn't for Moritz Lerner, and maybe he doesn't make the move on Lerner because it's his teammate. But now he takes one of 3, and he loses against other drivers on other teams. And he just pulled out his only race win in the final lap. So certainly it seemed like the league is kind of caught up. And I thought it was interesting what Julian was talking about, saying he kind of lacked the focus going into the first round in that Q1, and he had to wake up in Q2. And I think what he's really saying is that, look, I had to measure this league in round 1, had everything on lockdown, and now he just noticed that the whole competition woke up to him and kind of rose the bar. So I'm really curious to see what he can do now moving forward, if he now gets back into the type of supreme dominance that we saw in round 1.
Well, he's also a centre of controversy again, because he's disagreeing with moves by Alex and Robert, and they disagree with him, and it happened at Zandvoort, and this could escalate.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just as we're talking about that, they both jumped to another TeamSpeak channel to have a conversation with Rob and Julian. So certainly they got some issues to work through.
That's the equivalent of having a conversation around the back of the pit garages, isn't it?
Yes, very much so.
I always remember a line by Murray Walker during British touring cars. He says, you ask 2 drivers something, and they'll always say it's the other guy.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to hold true there.
Always get 2 different stories.
Yeah, because they both made comments during the driver interview section. Yeah, definitely about the same incident. So definitely potentially a rivalry brewing there for the M Technology and Euronics team.
And what we saw at the first race was an absolute German domination.
Yes,
the top 5 was German drivers. Almost every race. I think maybe Glavach and maybe one of the driver split it up. I think it was Baldi perhaps split up the top 5 being German. But in this race, you find it's people. Monroe also did as well, but at Zandvoort. But in this race, you find that people are really what's what I'm trying to say? They're really trying to break that German hegemony.
Yeah, we saw both Jernigan, Stanga fell back. Of course, Trostrom had his troubles. Wiesmuller was, solid for the first 2 races. Definitely came into form in the third. But yeah, we saw Baldi almost take a win. We saw Glavik take a victory, and we saw Monroe, of course, take the race 1 victory. Who is Scottish, Irish, and. What else do I call Monroe?
Probably English at some point.
In English, yes. I've called them all 3 at one point or another on the TPS broadcast. So,
Have you
yeah,
heard his
he's
voice, Danny?
covering
Have you heard his voice? Couldn't be any
Monroe
more
covers
Scottish.
everything, right? You can't get more international if Monroe wins, because then you got everybody right there.
Okay. In Danny's world, we won't
Yes.
we won't go to Danny's world. It's a scary place.
You don't want to do that.
No. But that is good to see. A lot more nationalities, fighting their way in there, because they would have been hurt by the fact that the Germans come across in WTCC and just absolutely cleaned up. But here we saw everybody mixed in, and some very, very interesting stories coming through this round. Glavak taking his first TPS win, Monroe coming from nowhere almost to take pole position, and a win for Smile Power, and then for THR, sorry, and then we got obviously Kunze dethroned, as it were. But Danny, importantly, he's still extending his championship lead. Because everything was mixed up, and even he was mixed up in it all as well, he was still less mixed up than his championship rivals.
That's the thing. I thought that there was opportunity for people like Trostrom, and he kind of let that slip away in the third race. So we saw that Julian kind of got shuffled down a little bit compared to what he did in the first round. But like you're saying, Ryan, ultimately he still wins. So definitely not a good sign if you're the rest of this TC1 field.
Yeah, of course, that makes the rest of the season so much more interesting, of course. We saw the Euronics domination at Zandvoort, and everyone thought, oh no, here we go. But it's not turned out like that at all. Nürburgring has been a fantastic shot in the arm for the rest of the drivers, for the competition, for the show, for the commentators, for everybody. And I'm very much looking forward to the rest of the season. Now, Mid-Ohio should be even better, which is race 3 in 2 weeks' time. But before that, we do have the first race of the Audi Sport TT Cup Online coming up, known as